It's good afternoon, and welcome to the day 4 of our participatory video training. I would suggest to wait a few more minutes in order to allow other participants to attend as well. So kindly be patient because we are going to start in a few minutes. Thank you very much. Welcome. Welcome again, dear colleagues. Welcome again, dear participants, to this day 4 of our participatory video training. It is always a great pleasure to see the participation of all of you. I would like to thank, before starting, of course, all our partners in this great journey. Digital Green, of course, from India, but also the College of Development Communication of the University of Los Baños from the Philippines. I just would like to remind you that this is an initiative promoted by Casa Africa, the ComDev platform developed with FIO, with the support of FIO, but with a long number of other partners and colleagues working with us in several pillars, always in relation to communication for development. So, as you know, this is a long journey. This is the day 4, and during the first 3 days, we have already approached different thematic areas. How to embed participatory video in a ComDev process, the pre-production process for the production of video, the production that was approached last time. And today we are going mainly to see how we can define the post-production process, meaning the editing, but in especially sharing the videos for our beneficiaries. The video training is just part of the communication effort that we are sharing with you. There is also a Google mini site. My colleagues are going to share with you the link again. And we also have, as you know, a community of practitioners sharing ideas, questions, and observations through a WhatsApp group. And my colleagues are going to share the WhatsApp group again on the chat. So just a few key notes before entering into the contents. As you know, in order to receive the certificate of completion, you should have attended at least 4 of the 5 training days. And aside from your attendance, we also encourage you to participate in the WhatsApp group and the activities of this community of practitioners. The website, find it, but I also raise your attention on the fact that on the website you can also find a manual, a participant's guide that can orient you further in the production of videos. Now, before going into the detail of the agenda of this day, I would like to give the floor to Riti to give us a short recap of the topics that we have discussed during day 3. Riti, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. So, like we said, we were delving mostly into production on our day 2 and day 3. Day 2, we were mostly discussing about the different kinds of shots based on which we had given the activity on the group. And day 3, to enhance all of those short movements and different kind of camera angles, we mostly delved into sound and lightning. And I hope you all remember that within the lightning section, we mostly spoke about the 3-point lightning and how there are different kinds of. We showed you some samples of good lighting, bad lighting, and then we delve into the importance of sound and how it can help you create continuity in your video. Same goes for lightning as well. And while we were discussing upon sound, we spoke about the importance of putting a mic and what's the correct way to pin your mic to the collar. And we also emphasized on ambient sound, which is that, how adding and recording an ambient sound in your video can just make it look like, make the viewers feel like they're actually involved where the video is being shot. So, having said that, like, I hope everyone could grasp a lot around sound and lightning in the previous day. And today, like mentioned, we are going to delve into editing, and which is your post production. And I'll look forward to everyone participating on the group. There were some who shared their videos, and we've been replying on the same on the WhatsApp group. But I think going practically trying out everything that we're discussing is the only way that we can all assure that we've got it all right. So I'll encourage everyone to do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Riti. Thank you very much. A couple of things. Light and sound. I mean, for video, we should always consider those two fundamental elements. And talking about sound, I would also like to bring to your attention the fact that among us, among our participants, we also have radio broadcasters. And probably one of the interesting things that we should investigate further is how to link up video with audio productions using probably the same background sounds that we can record, the same interviews, and have a complete multimedia output that can be used in several different ways. So thank you very much, Riti. It's extremely interesting. Now, let's go into the detail of the agenda for today. My colleagues are going to share the screen so that we can see all together the different topics that we are going to approach. So the first thing will be, of course, the post-production process. Post-production means editing, how to cut, how to put together the different shots, how to give this continuity that Riti was explaining during the production process. But session six will be also extremely important because, of course, when our output, when our product, our video is finalized, we need, and of course, we will have to share it. How do we share it? On a personal way, in a collective way? Which types of different sharing do we have? And how can we better use this? Of course, this is a process. Everything is linked together, editing, compressing, sharing the video, and all this is part of the same process. Next slide, please. Also, during the session of today, we therefore have a few key elements. Therefore, as I said, the editing process, linking, of course, with the storyboard that we have done in the pre-production phase. Get familiar also with some tips, editing with smartphones. We know that smartphones are nowadays one of the most common production tools. Can we edit video with smartphones? Yes. Are we going to receive tips on that? Yes. And then finally, exporting the final video with the appropriate format that can be used on our cell phones or screening the video to a wider audience during a collective session. Next. Finally, editing procedures, tips on editing, question and answers, and we can reach an health break for all of us. So now let's go into the contents. We are, as usual, running against the clock, and therefore I would like to start giving the floor to Riti in order to introduce us to this editing process and to the post-production. Riti, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Meanwhile, the presentation is coming up. Okay, it's there. So let's first try to understand the importance and the magic of video editing, right? Why is it even needed in the first place? So I'm gonna like narrate a story here for you, and I want you all to visualize and understand the role that video editing is playing in that, right? So say we're making a video on how to grow paddy, say rice, okay? So when we're shooting the footage of like literally sowing the seeds to like the plant, the crop growing up to harvesting it, it is a long procedure, right? So if we actually go and shoot all of this, you will probably end up shooting like months and months of footage, right? But then when you actually show the video, it's not that you will show that long of a video, right? So here's where the magic of video editing comes in, and you put the clips in such a manner that the viewers they get the sense of time and space in the video, but also you're showing something that has been going on since a long time in a shorter duration, right? So I hope like we all can understand where video editing is playing a role here. Can we have the presentation as well, please? Can we go to the earlier slide? The earlier one, yeah, overview, the one before that. Yeah. So I hope you guys understand that this is where the magic of video editing comes in, right? Wherein there is a very long narrative, and we scrunch it all together in a manner that the viewers will understand the time and space that is relevant in the video. Right. So today we're gonna talk about post-production, which is your video editing, as we spoke about it. It's the second last leg of your video making process, and this is where you can like give effects to your videos, and you can patch your videos in a different manner. So we'll be delving into what how to like import your files, and then the different kind of tracks that are there on your video editing software, which is your video track, audio track. We're going to also understand some technical terms like timeline, time codes, and transitions. So let's move on to the next slide and jump right into it. All right. So, like we spoke, that what is video editing? As I give you the example, video editing is a process through which you transform the raw footage into a polished video presentation, right? So earlier we spoke about how to shoot your videos. All of those videos come under your raw footage, right? Meaning that individually they are just standalone clips. It's only when you put it together is when you get the polished video, which is giving out a message, right? Second, it basically helps you bridge the gaps between the captured content and to put it all together to make it sound like an engaging clip. And then comes narrative unification. This is something I would again like to highlight an example so that everyone can understand this better. See, there's like a clip of this man standing at a bus stand. Okay, if it's just that clip, that you can't understand much out of that clip, right? uh, if there is another example of a man, there's a first shot of this man looking at the clock, and he's just shutting up his alarm clock, and then he just jumps and runs to the bus stand, right? So here there is a narrative unification, and the viewers will automatically understand that okay, he didn't wake up on time, and now he's there at the bus stop catching his bus. And let's say if we put the same example in a different manner, and we say there's a man who's standing at the bus stand, and then the next shot the next shot is of him holding flowers in his hand. So that completely changed the narrative, and that basically the viewers will kind of understand that okay, maybe he's going somewhere to meet someone through the bus, and he has those flowers. Maybe he's taking them for his friends or something like that, right? So it's very important while editing to make sure that you put your shots in a chronological manner so that there is a narrative that's coming along. So what I'm trying to also explain through the example is that it matters so much. The placement of your shots matters so much, right? So like it basically really depends that what message you want to give out based on how you place your shots, right? So it's all about creating a narrative. So let's start with step by step going into video editing, that what are the different steps going ahead. The first is capturing files. So in a video editing software, there is an option that you can directly record audio or video in the software, right? Though this is the second option that I'd suggest you, because obviously we've put in so much effort into learning production. So I would encourage all of you to go ahead and shoot with your mobile phones or cameras. And because obviously if you're recording, let's say if you're recording an audio on your laptop, which has your editing gear, so it'll be using the microphone that's available on your laptop, right? But that option is still there. So the first step will be capturing your files and importing them. So whatever you've shot on your phone and your cameras, the first thing is that you import all of that footage on your laptop. And as best practices, I would suggest that the day you're done with the shoot, it's best to transfer the footage there and then, to avoid any glitches, like, maybe the card crashes or like someone deletes those footage or something like that. So it's best practice, right? So when you're so then you also import the all the files, right? So all your audio, your video, and then I would suggest that save all of this in a proper folder. And you can also like name your files, right? The ones that you want to use, the video files, you can name them as 1 2 3 4, or you can name them as good or bad. And you can also have your music and other elements like animations and all there in one folder. And just a little tip, that when you're doing this on a Windows laptop, say, it's best to like save all of your files on the C drive or the D drive, rather than putting it on the desktop, because that creates a lot of pressure on the desktop. Can we go to the next? Yeah. So no matter what software you use, there are three components which are constant in every video editing software, which is your playlist, your preview, and your timeline. So first is playlist, where all of your raw footage as in whatever you've shot, will show over there. All of your other elements, your footage, your audio, your music will all be in that playlist. So that's where you drag and drop and then edit it, right? Second is your preview. As the word suggests, this is where you will be previewing your final output that is there. And third, we spoke about timeline. So timeline is where all of your video editing will happen, which is also what you can see in the presentation. In the lower half is your timeline, where you basically import footage from your playlist to your timeline, right? So in the timeline, whenever you pick and drop, so basically you just have to pick and drop the footage from your playlist to your timeline. And on your timeline, automatically it will split any video into two tracks, which is your audio track and your video track. You can see, you can again refer to the picture that's there on the presentation. The blue strip that is there, that is your video, that is your visual. And then the green strip that is there, that indicates your audio track, right? So editing softwares and applications, they contain different tools to facilitate the work of ordering the shots and managing transitions, and also cleaning up the video and audio tracks. So basically, with the audio tracks also, there are multiple audio tracks. So you have the option of, say, you have one visual track, which is your video that's playing, and then you have an audio track of the voice that was there in the video, and then you want to add music on top of that. So there will be another audio track which will be your A2, so you can add your music there, right? So this is how it works, and we call these as layers. So for every video you will have a different layer, and for every audio you'll keep having a different layer. And it's important to note that whichever audio or video is on the for video specifically, whichever video is on the top is the one that will show on your preview screen. Can we go to the next slide? So, like we spoke about the three components earlier, we spoke about the timeline as well. So, timeline is basically where you drop all of your raw footage and you're editing it, right? I would say that this is the moment wherein editing literally feels like a jigsaw puzzle, because here is when you're arranging all of your clips. And I'm going to reiterate something that I said earlier, that you can rename all of your shots, right? So if you have all of your shots renamed, so while arranging the clips on the timeline, it'll just make your life much easier, because it's kind of hard to identify which was the final shot that you're going for. Second is, of course, once you've imported all of your raw footage, you can go ahead, you can use editing tools like cutting, trimming, splitting the video, and you can also adjust their duration according to your script. Right. So then there is also this thing of visual references. I'm sure you can notice in the picture that there are like some there are always like time scales mentioned on the timeline, which will kind of help you to precisely position your clips according to the time, right? And here with video editing, one must be very precise about these tiny time codes, because if you want your video to look smooth, right, like it should play along smooth, then you should focus on each and every time frame and timeline. And because even if you have a frame extra here and there, that could create like a visual jerk for someone watching it. So you can always take help of the time scale that is mentioned on the timeline. Second is track independence. We spoke about this, that while editing, you have your visuals separately and you have your audio separately. You also have the option that you can have them jointly. When I mean jointly, say you're putting a editing tool on it, say you're putting a cut effect on it. So do you want the audio and the video to cut at the same time? You have that option to do that, or you can have your audio track and your video track separately, and you can put all of these effects separately as well, right? Last is also the storyboard replication. During our pre-production sessions, we've emphasized enough on the importance of having a planned storyboard and a planned script. So during editing, it's best that you can refer to it, and then it'll just help you have like a smooth flow of transitions between your shots. Can we go to the next slide? So then there is another term in video editing, which is called time codes. So while editing, time codes play a very important role, as they are like this identification markers in a video to each frame of a video, allowing precise navigation and synchronization during the video editing process. So you can see in this image, as it is much more zoomed out, there are like these time codes written above, which is, like your 28 seconds, 29 seconds. So when you're also dealing with, like if someone else has shot the video, or you have a director on board while making your video, so when they want to refer to you and say that, okay, at this time code, you can put this effect. So time codes is basically like your only identification marker when you're going through in a video, and makes your video editing process much easier, right? And definitely time plays a very key role in video editing, because if you have like an extra say if you put in an extra frame which is blank, so that will come off as a jerk in the video, right? So it's very important to have each and every second in place, and time codes is what will help you to maintain the sequence within your video. Can we go to the next slide? So we spoke about some basic editing tools like your cutting and trimming, which is of course which is pretty basic, and even your mobile phone editing apps or the most basic video editing apps also have it. I'm sure a lot of us must have consumed reels at some point in our time, and these videos have these transitions, and there are like these uh, transitions between the videos which kind of make the videos so engaging for the viewers, right? So even when we talk about video editing here, there are a lot of inbuilt basic transitions that are there, and you can choose to like pick them and drop them between. You can either put a transition between two clips, or you can choose to have it at the end or the starting of a single clip. Right. So usually when we're talking about participatory videos, since it's on the lines of making a documentary film, so it's kind of suggested that don't go for like very tacky transitions or something that is, you know, very out there, because that can kind of take away the realness from your video, right? So there are some basic transitions that are mentioned on the screen, which I would suggest everyone to use. So the first is your crossfade. Crossfade is when there are two shots and they gradually just fade in, like they just cross fade into each other, right? So I mean, you can go ahead, search on your search on the transitions that are available there on your software, and you can basically drag and drop this. Then there is a fading effect, which is used a lot of times at either in the beginning of a video or the end of a video. Like I'm sure many of us must have seen this, that towards the end of a video there is a fading effect of, you know, like say it just fades away to black, so it kind of like hints that okay, the video is over. So you can definitely use the fading effect as well. Third, which is my favorite, is the curtain and the wipes effect, which basically creates like a wipe either left to right, or you know, you can go bottom to up as well in regard to wipe. So it just wipes off the earlier shot with the next shot. So that creates that maybe wipes can be used when you're trying to indicate that say you want to indicate that there is day two starting in the video now. So, you know, you can use like a wipe which can kind of tell the viewers that, okay, till now we were talking about the steps that should be followed during day one, and now we've jumped on to the day two. So you have to be mindful about which transition you're using where, right? And then there is your blur, which is a soft transition, and your video will just blur out. So you can definitely use that also between your shots. It looks good. Can we go to the next slide? So once you've put all of the effects and transitions in your timeline and your video is ready to go, you can also add like a suitable title to your video. You can add designations to your video. And then finally, once your video is ready, we come to the final segment of our video editing process, which is exporting the video. So when you want to share the video to an extended audience, you need to export it in a shareable format, right? Because see, I export the video in a very high quality format wherein I'm sharing the video with my audience on the mobile phone and over WhatsApp. But WhatsApp doesn't allow that much high quality and high pixelated videos. It doesn't allow you to share on WhatsApp, right? So you have to be mindful that how and where are you sharing this video with your viewers. In according to that, you can choose the format that you want to export your video in. And exporting is basically the process wherein you're saving the final output video that you've edited. And we have many options for your video formats in which you can export. And the best one, like I said, is selected on the based on where you have to share the video and on which platform you have to share the video. Once you go and click on the export, it will ask you to select the quality, size, file, and resolution of your video. So you can do the same. And then you can also go and select that once the exported version, where will it go and save? So let's say you want it in your downloads and in a specific folder. So you can go ahead and select that specific folder. And after the export is complete, your video will reflect in that same folder. And nowadays, MP4 format is a very widely used format, and it is supported by majority of the media players as well. So I would recommend everyone to go ahead and use that. But depending on if you're disseminating that video, or are you sharing it through a social media platform, or are you sharing it on WhatsApp, I would highly recommend to keep a track of the resolution, because that kind of increases the file size of the video. Can we go to the next slide? So that's about it from video editing from my side. And I just want to mention that video editing is basically a combination of creativity and technical know-hows of making a good video. It's not just that you've learned your transitions and effects here. Doesn't mean that you go ahead in your video editing and you put like as many transitions as possible, right? So you have to critically think that where this transition will make sense and will it add to my video or not. And yeah, that's it from my side on video editing. And there are a bunch of apps that I would recommend everyone to use. In the video, in the presentation that we showed, there were screenshots from Shortcut, which is available, and you guys can go explore it. And I would love to see something that everyone's edited.
Thank you, Riti. Thank you very much. I just also capture now this word creativity. It's really, yeah, and creativity is not just, an effect. It's not just, it's really the way of editing the different shots, giving continuity and trying to make an harmonic product to be shared with the others. Thank you very much. But again, I give you the floor again because we know that one of the most popular tools nowadays are cell phones. With cell phones, we can capture audio, video, we can share, we are online, we can do everything. So is it possible also to edit a video with a smartphone? According to you, yes. So tell us more.
Yeah, definitely. So okay, like Francisco said, that it is possible to edit a video on your mobile phone, and we know that everyone has mobile phones today, and they're in our normal life also, we're constantly shooting photos and videos with our camera, right? And the good part about a smartphone is that it gives you the liberty that you can shoot and edit and even share the video just on this one device, right? And there are so many software that have come up, so definitely there is so much scope of video editing on your mobile phone. And plus, in my experience, like your smartphone is much more handy, right? Because if you're editing on a laptop, you need your laptop, you need the mouse, you need a desktop, but with your phone it's just so convenient, right? So let's just jump right into it. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, before we go into this, like, I just want to give everyone a disclaimer that everything that we learned in the previous presentation, right, that your timeline, your time codes, your transitions, all of them apply to video editing on your mobile phone as well, right? So you know that, so let's just jump right into it and build a clear understanding and learn how to edit a video using a smartphone. And editing on a smartphone can be done much more quicker and easily also, and there are like many apps available. We can delve into it eventually. And let's jump right into it. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, so like we spoke about this earlier, preparing for video editing, you can first go ahead and transfer all of your raw material, and you can have it on your phone, saved it on your phone. While shooting on your phone and then also editing on your phone, the only con that is there, in my opinion, is that you have a tinier screen compared to your laptop, right? So my suggestion here would be that, say you have a shot and you've taken multiple tries of that same shot, right? And you know that the third shot that you've taken is the final one that will go into the video. So it's best that you delete the other ones which are not going to make it to the video, just so when you're just so when you're importing the footage on your timeline, on your video editing software on your phone, it's easier because the screen is also smaller, so it kind of gets a little more complicated as to, oh, which one was this final selected file. So this is just a small tip from my side. And then you can also, like, smartphones today have the option that you can create folders, and you can even have subfolders. So I mean, obviously, if you have all of your raw material in a very organized manner in a folder, so when it comes to importing on the timeline and everything, it'll make your life much, much easier. Can we go to the next slide? So now on your video editing software, you can do some basic corrections, like, you can correct the brightness, you can correct the contrast of your video, and you can, I mean, it's always suggested that when you're making these adjustments like brightness or contrast, it should not be a lot, right? So it should not be very noticeable also in the clips, is what I would suggest, right? And then you can also review all of your footage for accuracy, since participatory videos, we all will be talking about like specific subjects, so it's very important to ensure that like the content that is there in your footage is all accurate. And then you can also like collaborate with a subject matter expert and ensure that all of your content that is there is accurate, and also have the final shot that is going to go into your video editing process, right? And then even today, like your softwares are also allowing you other basic adjustments like color correcting, trimming, audio enhancement, or splitting the videos. Like most of the video editing tools that we learned about earlier also apply to your phone editing apps, right? So now you've color corrected your footage, you've trimmed your footage, you've put it in the right place, and then you've also you've also like you've also made sure that like a subject matter expert has kind of ensured that your content is right. So then you can decide what is a desired format, like we spoke about it earlier. So the video editing software on your mobile phone will give you an option of save the video, and then it'll ask you for the desired format that you want. And like we said earlier, here also you can go ahead and save your video, and mp4 works pretty well for like having videos on your mobile phone. And then you can have your video converted into an mp4, which will be your final product. Can we go to the next slide? So there are like few major advantages that we've already spoken about that video editing apps have. One is the convenience, because you literally have to like you literally need your phone, and that's about it, because you can even shoot on your phone, and then you have all the footage on your phone, and then you can go ahead and edit it right there. Second is that these apps have become very intuitive, which is something I believe is giving rise to like this whole reel culture of people shooting their own videos and putting them on social media. Because once you put two clips, say you put two clips together, the app will automatically suggest you that, hey, you can put a transition here, or hey, you also have the option of auto correct. So it will automatically correct your footage, and it will correct the brightness, it will correct the contrast. So these apps have become very intuitive. So it'll just help you, right? So there is nothing that should stop you from starting ahead with video editing on your mobile phone. And third is obviously efficiency. It's very efficient. Like the export time on your mobile phone will be much lesser than the export time on your laptop, and it's just more convenient. So these are like few advantages in regard to video editing on your mobile phone. And I would highly recommend everyone that since we've got the basics right, which is that like you have to maintain the sequence and whatever you've mentioned earlier in your storyboard and you script, you go ahead with that, you maintain a continuity, and then you also get it verified from a special subject expert, right? So you can follow all of these on your mobile editing app, and soon you can just jump right into softwares which are available on your laptop. Can we go to the next slide? So we spoke about exporting options, and then, like I said, it'll as you can see in the picture as well, it'll ask you as soon as you click on the save option, it'll give you an option that you can choose your resolution, you can choose your frame rate, you can even choose the format, which is MP4, as I suggested. And then when you have your final video, you can go ahead and share it on through several mediums, which is first is your social media platform. So you can share it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, like I mentioned. Then if you have to send it to someone, just one person specifically, or like a specific selected number of people, then you can even use email for that. And then if you're going in for a larger audience, let's say let's say it's not a defined audience and you just want to put that content out for like people across the country or something like that, then I would suggest video hosting platforms like YouTube and Vimeo work really well. And then there is also an option of creating a QR code for easy scanning and sharing, so you can scan and it'll just take you to the video. So there are like very new different ways of sharing your final videos, which you can also use. And lastly, if you're making a video for, let's say, a website that's already there, so you can also embed that same video on the website. Can we go to the next slide? So I hope through this session of video editing, it was helpful. And if there are any questions in regard to which app to use, which software to use, you can feel free to like put them in the chat box or later when we have the Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Rudy. At the end, I mean, we have to acknowledge that nowadays technology is really helpful. I mean, especially with smartphones, we have a lot of different possibilities. So again, it's just up to our creativity to use them well and make the best use of it. Okay, so colleagues, we are now in the question and answer session. I remember you that in less than 20 minutes, we will have our break. And therefore, probably we can use this time also to have an interactive conversation with our trainers in order to better focus some particular elements. So before giving you the floor, I remind you it's very easy. You just raise your hand in the Zoom, and you will have the floor to speak. In the meantime, I would like to give the floor to my colleague Ulama, because I'm sure that probably many questions already appeared in the chat, and therefore, Ulama, would you kindly update us on the questions on the chat?
Okay, the first question we have here is from Sebastian. He's asking, what's your favorite social media to share your videos? And what are the difference between YouTube, Dailymotion, and Vimeo?
So so if you ask me for social media, I'd say Instagram is my own personal favorite, also because there are so many people and it's widely used by everyone, right? So it can basically reach a very large number of audience. And if we talk about a platform where you can share video, then it's YouTube, because YouTube is also more widely used and accepted by everyone than Vimeo. Not saying that that's not good enough. And the basic difference between YouTube, Dailymotion, or Vimeo is not a lot, but they just have few different features that are there available. Say on YouTube, you cannot have a video which is which is private. So if once you publish it, it's out there for everyone. Or you can have like a unlisted link, which means that whoever you share that link with can only view that video. Versus on Vimeo, you have the option that you can create a passcode. So say like a lot of these documentary filmmakers, when they don't want to put their content out for free, so they upload it on Vimeo, and then for whoever specifically that person that they want that documentary to see, then they'll share the passcode and they'll be like, you can put this and view it. So just these tiny differences are there between YouTube, Dailymotion, and Vimeo, but majority of it is same, which is that you can upload your video for a large audience.
So I guess that these are also details that we are going to approach when we talk about sharing, because this issue, private, collective, I mean, this dichotomy between the two different approaches is also fundamental. Ulama, any other question from the chat?
Yes, another one from Eric.
Oh, sorry, Riti, please.
Yeah, I just also wanted to add this one more point, which is there, this feature that's available on YouTube, is that you can do live videos as well. And then those can get published on your channel, which is not there on Vimeo. So that's another tiny difference, but can say major also.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Ulama, please.
Okay, so this is from Eric. Do you have any recommended software for mobile phone or smartphone?
Yeah, so there's this software which is free of cost. It's called Filmora Go. I really recommend that. And like I spoke earlier, that these apps have become very intuitive, and I've personally learned and used Filmora Go. And that app is very suggestive with the transitions and everything, and it's a very uh, smooth ride on that app. So I would suggest Filmora Go for your smartphones. Yeah.
Sorry, Eric, my personal question. Are these softwares free to download? Do we have to pay some fees? Is there
So
a yearly fee that we have to pay? What would you suggest?
So I would suggest that initially for your practices, say Filmora Go, it'll allow you to edit. But when you have the final exported version, they'll put their watermark on the bottom of the video. So I would suggest that let's practice on this, because of course we can identify that the watermark is not. Then once we're getting into it, wherein we're actually editing a video which has to be uploaded somewhere and it has to go for official work, then of course I think we can pay a minimal amount and have the membership, which is not extremely expensive. And then we can get rid of the watermark basically.
Do we have other softwares for free? Would you suggest any other software?
So there are like Movie Maker, but they are a little less advanced, I would say, keeping in mind that we've taught you transitions, and we've taught you how to correct your footage and put all of these audio video transitions. So those won't be as freely available on these unpaid softwares. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Olama, other questions?
Yes, before I ask the question, Rita, would you mind putting in the community of practice the apps as well as a link so people can see and get this as well? Thank you. So we have another question from Imani. What is the best way to create reels, and what exactly is the difference between reels and normal videos?
Right. So I'll first answer your second question, which is that what is the basic difference between reels and your normal video? One would be the format, right? So reels are mostly shot in a vertical format because that's how they come up on your phone as well, versus like a normal video that we're talking about. Ideally, when we talk about shooting videos, it's always suggested to shoot your videos in a horizontal format, right? And besides that, you can say that this is a difference, that reels are shorter. It's a shorter way of consuming content versus a normal video. Like usually the video format roughly comes around say 2 to 3 minutes minimum, right? So but reels are jam packed with their information in 30 seconds, 40 seconds. So that difference is there. The best way for creating reels is that I think to master making reels with, like, you putting out some information out there, is mastering the art of giving that information in those 30-40 seconds is what I would say. One. Second is that of course you can go ahead, shoot all the footage on your phone, and then the inbuilt app that's there on Instagram, let's say, for editing your reels is also good enough. So you can definitely use that as well.
Colleagues, if you have any question, please raise your hands. I mean, this is a very interactive chat with our trainers. I remember you that, of course, we also have the community of practitioners, and therefore, if you have other questions, even after this session today, you will be able to join us. Any other question from the chat or from the participants directly?
No questions in the chat for now.
Very good, thank you. Friends, any question? Please raise your hand. I don't see.
Meanwhile, put the links also on the chat so then people can try downloading and experimenting. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so in this case, I would say that we can take a few minutes break. We can take 10 minutes until 2 o'clock Rome time. I'm not going to put the time in all the countries where we are because it's going to be extremely difficult, but we can reconvene here in 10 minutes. And just after, we are going to start our group work. Oh no, so sorry. We have other presentations. we are going to talk about sharing the video. So no group work for now. We are going to do it later. But in 9 minutes exactly, we are going to start talking about how to share a video and what is the process required for this initiative. Okay, so we reconvene in 9 minutes exactly, all here in the plenary session. Take your break, take your time. Bye.
In Cabo Verde, many coastal communities depend on small-scale artisanal fisheries for their livelihoods. But they face many challenges, including lack of technology, skills and organization.
Dificuldade e gelo que se para preparar mais cho. Vamos ver que numa arca, nunca estou conseguindo preparar gelo, mas que é arquinha normal. Se tem gelo, então a gente põe peixe, arba a praia, também. Já que soma na mar e peixe praia fica estragado. O problema de gelo que tem que ela também e dinheiro. Como tem, não está fazendo ordem de barco. E torna e paga e caro para tornar queijo. Para a praia, que ele ganha também tem peixe, até ganha para ele, ganha para mim. Que ele ganha caro, já de praia também ele que está põe.
A maior dificuldade é que tem muita quantidade e nós não sabemos mais pequenote. Tem muitos pescadores, tem peixe muito mais crescido. Então, às vezes, nunca te sabe vender aquele peixe num dia. E para não pôr nem frio, nem sempre, nunca tem um lugar para conserva. Por exemplo, mim nunca tem arca. Da cabiral, para vender aquele peixe o dia inteiro, mesmo que tenha noite, para morrer, porque tem muito conserva aquele peixe.
To help tackle these challenges, the FAO Coastal Fisheries Initiative organized an exchange visit, in which fishers and fishmongers from Mayo Island traveled to San Vicente Island to learn good practices in fish processing, marketing, and community organizing. At the Frescomar factory, they observed the process of manufacturing canned tuna. They attended a demonstration of fish sorting and drying techniques at the Mindeo Municipal Fish Market. They also visited local fishers associations in São Pedro and Solomonsa, where they learned how to create strong partnerships for better livelihoods.
Certamente, hoje tem necessidade de reforçar esse intercâmbio com mais visitas, mais intercâmbio principalmente entre as mulheres, partilha boas práticas, partilha dificuldades, partilha constrangimentos e principalmente hoje aqui inovações que as próprias associações encontram para resolver esse problema.
The Coastal Fisheries Initiative, working to empower women and men in fisheries value chains for more sustainable businesses, communities, and ecosystems.
In Cabo Verde, many coastal communities depend on small-scale artisanal fisheries for their livelihoods. But they face many challenges, including lack of technology, skills and organization.
Dificuldade e gelo que as coisas para preparar mais cho. Vamos ver aquilo arca, nunca estou conseguir preparar gelo, mas que as arquinha normal. Se tem gelo, então a gente põe peixe, arba a praia, também. Já que soma na mar de peixe praia, fica estragado. O problema de gelo que tem que ela também é dinheiro. Como tem, não está fazendo ordem de barco, e torna e paga e caro para tornar queijo. Para a praia, que ele que também tem peixe, até traga para ele, traga para mim. Que ele é caro, já de praia também ele que está põe.
A maior dificuldade é que tem muita quantidade e nós não sabemos mais pequeno. Tem muitos pescadores, tem peixe ainda muito mais crescido. Então, às vezes, nunca te sabe vender aquele peixe num dia. E para não pôr nem frio, nem sempre, nunca tem lugar para conserva. Por exemplo, mim nunca tem arca. Da cabiral, vou vender aquele peixe o dia inteiro, mesmo que tenha noite, para morrer, porque tem onde conserva aquele peixe.
To help tackle these challenges, the FAO Coastal Fisheries Initiative organized an exchange visit, in which fishers and fishmongers from Mayo Island traveled to San Vicente Island to learn good practices in fish processing, marketing, and community organizing. At the Fresco Mar factory, they observed the process of manufacturing canned tuna. They attended a demonstration of fish sorting and drying techniques at the Mindeo Municipal Fish Market. They also visited local fishers associations in São Pedro and Solemonza, where they learned how to create strong partnerships for better livelihoods.
Certamente, hoje a necessidade de reforçar esse intercâmbio com mais visitas, mais intercâmbio principalmente entre mulheres, partilha boas práticas, partilha dificuldades, partilha constrangimentos e principalmente hoje aqui inovações que as próprias associações encontram para resolver esse problema.
The Coastal Fisheries Initiative, working to empower women and men in fisheries value chains for more sustainable businesses, communities, and ecosystems.
Thank you very much, and welcome back. We are perfectly in time. All of us, we are all working with media, and therefore we understand the value of minutes. And this is really the perfect time to start again our session. As I said before, this second session will be in particular about the video sharing. The objective is to understand the different types of modalities and methods of sharing participatory video, but also learn the basic elements to design and implement a participatory video sharing process. Also, we don't have to forget that one fundamental element is always the monitoring and evaluation process. And therefore, in this session, we are also try to go through the monitoring and evaluation, which is always extremely important. So, first of all, we start with planning, video sharing. Second, we will see the difference between in-person and collective sharing, sometimes online, sometimes in a community. And finally, the third part will be the monitoring and evaluation process. All this will bring us to the work group that we are going to start more or less in 40 minutes. So without losing other fundamental minutes for this afternoon, I would like to give the floor to our colleague Edmund Senter, Associate Professor of the University of Los Baños. Edmund, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Francesco. Hello again, everyone. It's nice to see you again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening here from the Philippines. Magandang gabi. Now, for this session, we will be talking about planning participatory video sharing. Now, at the end of this session, we hope that everyone will be familiar with the different strategies and options for participatory video sharing. Now, if you have any questions, kindly type them in our chat box, or we can entertain them, reserve your questions for the Q&A later. Next slide, please. Okay, so after undertaking the different phases of participatory video production, from planning to production and post-production, it is of course recommended that we pre-test first our videos so that we can gather comments and suggestions on how we can improve our output. Now, after we have finalized everything, it's now time for us to share our video. Now, in the previous session, we've talked about the different advantages and importance of why we are sharing our participatory video. So we were able to understand that participatory video can be a powerful tool because it can create an opportunity for farmers and for the entire community in exploring issues, in voicing their concerns, in sharing their stories to different stakeholder groups. At the same time, we all know that participatory video will enable the community to take action, to identify and solve their own problems and address their needs, and at the same time, communicate these needs and ideas to decision makers, most especially, and of course, to other groups and communities. Next slide. Now, we have to take note that when we talk about participatory video sharing, it is not limited simply to presenting our final output or to giving, let's say, for example, a copy of file or sharing it online for our viewers. We have to take note that this includes communication processes which should be carried out before and after participatory sharing. As you can see here on our screen, these are the different activities. Before sharing, of course, it's very important that we need to prepare our audience to watch the video. We can tell them what the video is about, what are our objectives. In other words, we are setting the climate for the video sharing process that will be taking place. And then after the presentation, we have to encourage them and facilitate the viewer's implementation of the action. So what are they going to do with the knowledge or with the new learnings that they have seen or watched from the video? We can also encourage them to share what they have learned to other stakeholder groups. Now, we have to take note that whenever we decide on the different strategies for our participatory video sharing, there are actually different factors that we have to consider. And I would like to suggest, if you can develop your participatory video sharing plan, the better. So essentially, this includes the schedule, such as the time and date of sharing, the strategies that you're going to use, whether it will be online or offline, what are the different platforms that you need to use, who will be the focal person or the people in charge once you will be sharing the video, and of course, the scale, okay? We have to take note of the scale. Will it be shared at the community level, at the local level, at the national level, or even in regional levels? So a simple way to do this participatory video sharing plan is to create a matrix. It's some sort of a table, or you can actually outline the different highlights or the different strategies that I have mentioned a while ago. All right, next slide, please. Now, after you have created your participatory video sharing plan, so we have to take note of these some practical guides. Okay, so the first one is we need to decide when the video should be shared to the audience. Now, we have to take note that timing of sharing is an important consideration. Like, for example, if you will be sharing a video about a specific practice, if it will be helpful if our viewers, the farmers or the community members, are in the decision-making phase so that they can be mobilized and prepared accordingly. Now, it is also important that we utilize a collective approach when sharing a video, although in some cases, individual sharing, we will be discussing that later on, might work, but if we're going to do a collaborative or collective approach, it might be better for the whole community. Okay, next slide, please. So what then are the different strategies that we can use? As I have mentioned a while ago, it can be either through individual sharing or through group sharing. Now, these are the two different ways. Now, like for instance, for individual sharing, we have to take note that the video is shared either online or offline to each viewer, and each viewer decide when to watch it. So we are giving flexibility, okay, for the viewers. In this case, individuals can pay attention to the video, okay? Discussions can't be customized. Also, this is one of the disadvantage or limitation. For individual sharing, discussions can be customized, and it might be a time-consuming process. Like, for example, you will be sharing it, let's say, to 100 of individuals. It might be time-consuming to share it individually. And of course, there is less or no opportunity for collective learning and interaction. Unlike in group sharing, the video is presented in an organized event. Like, for example, you will be organizing a forum, a training session, or a seminar, and the last activity in that event is the video sharing. So in this method or strategy, this actually helps in addressing an issue or provide information as a community, because after watching the video, we can ask questions and solicit comments and suggestions, or maybe ask what they have learned, and maybe the viewers can answer as a group. So discussions can be generalized. This can save a lot of time, and there is more opportunity for collective learning and interaction. Okay, so either of these two will work. We just have to take note of our intended audience or intended viewers, because for some, individual sharing might work for them, while for others, group sharing will be the better option. Next slide, please. Another important strategy that we need to use or think about: how are we going to share our video? Will it be offline or through in-person sharing? Okay, so in this case, we just need to give them a copy of our file, or as I have mentioned a while ago, if you can actually organize an event and everyone watches the video, okay, in a training or after a seminar, etc. Now, for online sharing, so we are utilizing different means or different applications, either through channeled and targeted groups, or on open media platforms where participants are connected virtually. Now, we will have another session for in-person and online sharing, so we will reserve our discussion later on. All right, so next slide, please. Now, after creating your participatory video sharing plan, you have decided about the strategy that you will be using. Now, these are the important steps that we need to undertake. Now, for this discussion, I actually categorize this into 3 parts: before, during, and after the presentation. Okay, so before the event, before the actual sharing process, we need to select a group of people with similar social and economic conditions who follow similar farming practices or have similar options. Okay, so we need to get the group members on board with the idea of video sharing. Now, please take note, as I have mentioned a while ago, whether online or offline, we need to identify the group with which the video will be shared. So there will be a separate strategies for online sharing and a separate set of strategies or plan of action for offline sharing. And of course, it's very important that we need to prepare complementary materials to be shared based on the timeliness of the practice. Now, in the spirit of inclusivity, I would like to suggest that aside from sharing our video, you can also create supplementary or complementary materials like, for example, handouts, leaflets, brochures, or manuals, because there may be additional information that you would like to share that you will not be able to cover in the video. So this complementary material will help our audience or viewer understand more the content of our videos. Next. In addition, before the actual sharing, we have to explain first the process. How are we going to share the video to the group? A while ago, I mentioned about sharing what the objective is about or giving an overview of what the video is all about. So we can ask the group what day and time works for them. Okay, we need to set a date and time. And of course, remind them in advance about the video sharing process that will be undertaken a little before the actual time so that they are reminded, so that their attention can be so we can get their attention. Okay. Now, during the participatory video sharing process, it's very important that we introduce the subject. We can also give some guide questions or points that our viewers need to take note of as they watch the video. And then after that, now that's the time for us to share the video. Okay, next slide, please. Now, take note, during the sharing process, we can also discuss with them, with our group members, specific points, okay? And we would like to add questions that will aid them in recalling or remembering the important parts of our video. And we should encourage them to adopt the practice or knowledge shared in the video. And also we can also encourage them to share what they have learned with other people or group members of the community. Now, at the end of the participatory video sharing process, of course, we need to have some sort of closure. So we end the discussion with a call to action, okay, and a set of schedule for the next video sharing with everyone's agreement, okay? And then it's very important also to collect or gather feedback from our intended viewers. And this feedback will be used to further improve our future projects, our future participatory video projects. Okay? So essentially, I think this is the last slide. Again, these are very simple tips. I know everyone has experience already when it comes to sharing our videos, whether online or offline, individual or group. Again, I would like to reiterate that before we share, it's very important to have a participatory video sharing plan. And in creating that plan, we also adopt the participatory process. We consult the community members, decide on the schedule and the strategies with them. Okay, so that's it for this session. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Edmund. I believe it's extremely important. Couple of points that you raised. The first one is the collective learning, because we don't have to forget that, as we have seen in the first day of presentations, the participatory video has in particular two main objectives, the community mobilization and collective action. And this is why the process of sharing the video is extremely important in order to reach those two objectives. So, Edmund, the floor is yours again for the next presentation. No, sorry, I see the name of Nandita. So please, Nandita, go ahead with the next presentation, trying to make the distinction between the in-person and the online sharing process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francesco. So once again, welcome everybody to this session where we are going to learn how are we going to address this in-person and online sharing process. You know, sometimes when you create a very beautiful movie, it is not a hit at the box office. Why? Because it could have missed its target audience, or the content must have been very irrelevant for the viewer. The same concept goes in here also when we talk about how do we go about this whole dissemination process of these participatory community based videos. And when we say this means that these are videos for the community, by the community, for the adoption. So today we'll get an overview on how are we going to address sharing participatory videos, and brush upon some concepts of adult learning principles which we should be mindful of, because when we are addressing communities, these are adult communities. So we might as well be mindful about some of the principles of adult learning. Then how to inculcate a more positive and cohesive knowledge sharing process, what could be the most apt methodologies for sharing on various platforms, etc., and the fundamentals of video sharing, the platforms that are there, and what kind of roles each community member or group of community members could play in the dissemination and sharing of these videos. And finally, we'll look into if we have to do some in-person sharing or in-person facilitation, then what are the some broad aspects we as facilitators should be mindful of. So with this, we'll jump to the next slide, please. Okay, before that, I'll just spark one more question with you, one more aspect with you all. If you have any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat, and or else raise them at the end of the question. So now let's look at the sharing of participatory videos. Here, when we talk about what are the principles, or what could be the principles of sharing these participatory videos, the first and foremost aspect of this is building ownership amongst the community to share it. So in our pre-production and production stages, when we have involved the community in creating these videos, where we've gone and researched with them and asked them, what kind of videos do you want to see? So the involvement starts from there. And then, of course, naming the video and making it very, very more customizable, because here we are creating tools which are highly localized, digitized, and customized. Hence, we have to be very mindful that we keep on building this ownership of the communities at each and every process of participatory video making. Then we'll also highlight the adult learning process, how they also, when they are disseminating the information to farmers or the frontline workers, they also should be mindful of certain aspects, and discuss the overall process of sharing and suggest the role for both the audience and the mediator. Next slide, please. So the first step in, like I said, in having building ownership in creating these participatory videos is involving them at each step. And once when a video is ready, then pilot test it out with the community with the help of their participation. Take their videos, segment it with various audiences, have a spectrum of feedback with that video, and collect that video, incorporate some real, if there are certain red flags which maybe as a creator we could have missed out, maybe those need to be patched up, or maybe some very crucial aspect of the whole process has been missed out, or it has got lost in our creation, then maybe this is where we can do the first line of check and have our corrective measures before it is out for sharing. Next slide, please. Okay, so now let's be mindful of some of the principles of adult learning. Like here, we all are adults and we all are in the adult learning process. So as you must have observed, these principles work for us also. Therefore, it works with any adult learning community. So what are these adult learning concepts? First of all, an adult learns at his or her own pace. So like a child, you can't force, you have to take a class from say morning 8 or 3. It can't be possible, because they have got their own engagements, etc. So we need to be mindful of that. Then adults also look at some transformational learnings, because as adults we all come with our own beliefs, with our own perspectives, and especially farmers, they follow a very traditional methodology of farming, like which had been used by the forefathers. So they are very at times rudimentary in changing them. But if you look at the climate and if you look at the soil chemistry, it has changed over a period of time. Therefore, very loudly, the crop sciences are asking for a pattern of change in our farming practices. So this is where we have to champion best practices, so that that rudimentary thought process of not accepting new things go away. So that's how we have to like bring in best stories, bringing in testimonial videos, so that those kind of adoptions which see resistance can be overcome. For thirdly, adults believe in a lot of experiential learning. Like they say, we burn our fingers, then we know that the fire is hot. So that's how it is. It is true forever till the time we exist. We learn from our own experiences. Therefore, whatever teachings or the learnings, it should be more of experiential. Like this is a tool, this is a process. Go try it out, practice it on yourself, see how you feel about it. So in that ways, the engagement increases, the relatability increases. If you notice, this is what we are trying to do with you all also, where we are giving you some tools to go and play with and come back and tell us how you feel about it. That is how you engage your audience in accepting the learnings and changes. Next, I'll also look forward to a lot of mentorship, because it just added more value and credence to the topic. So suppose maybe you're creating a participatory video and you have mentored or asked some scientific expert to mentor the group. Then the adoption, then the acceptance increases amongst the adults. So this holds true for us also. Like we all look forward to listening from someone who adds more value to our intellect. Next slide, please. The adults have their own orientations of learning. It could arise from an emotional need, it could be arising from some knowledge gap, it could be maybe work related, but there usually is an orientation for learning. We have to just kind of align ourselves with those orientations, so that the person or the individual is able to do his or her job more better or more efficiently. The other aspect is adults are always motivated to learn. It is just that the content should be engaging enough, or rather, it should solve their problems, or it should aid them in enhancing their capacities. So, motivation to learn is always there. Like we lose interest in a content. I'm sure you all must have taken some courses, but over a period of time, why do we lose interest? Because it does not cater to our customized needs. Therefore, when we are now creating very customized videos for the communities, this is one aspect we really need to be very mindful. What would motivate this community to adopt this practice? Therefore, is it addressing their problem or creating one more add-on to their to-do many lists? And of course, readiness to learn is always more amongst the adults. It is only that it should be engaging and changing things for them, making lives easier for them, enhancing their acumen. Next slide, please. So with this, if we follow these principles, what we will bring within the community will be, they will perceive, they will accept and adapt to the content, which is what we would be wanting from our videos. Next slide, please. So the whole video production and sharing of information goes on with this cycle: selection of the topic based on the community, scripting, preparation, that is the pre-production, shooting, that is the production, video editing, again the production, and of course mediating video dissemination with the community. That is now, okay, the video is ready, now what should be the platforms, which all should be the channels. If it is a video which talks about pest infestation in wheat, who are these selected farmers, who is this community for whom it should be given, what should be the right channel. And then of course data collection and monitoring, that whether this video has been absorbed well, taken up well, are there any feedbacks. Next slide, please. And now we come to the portion where we have to do the in-person dissemination. Suppose we have to do a workshop where we have shown a video, and now we need to break down the knowledge more. So of course, when we are doing such workshops, then there should be an introduction as to why we are there, what would be the knowledge exchange, and how it would benefit. Therefore, we would do the context setting, maybe address the problem, and so make it interactive, asking them, hey, if you're dealing with this problem, how are you going about it? Asking questions, really listening very hard. Active listening should be of utmost importance, so that more and more relatability you can bring out from each participant. Ask each participant to participate, paraphrase what they have said, and ensure that what we have understood is in tandem with what they have said. And then, of course, navigate discussions and bring out the new learnings in place, what has been said, how it can be incorporated, what could be the challenges in adoption, how those challenges can be navigated, and to do so, what would be the next actionable insights. And of course, then take periodic follow-ups. For example, if you want some farmers to do soil testing, then maybe discuss the benefits, what would be the challenge, how to take sample, and the works you all know. Next slide, please. So the fundamentals of content sharing is one, selection of the relevant group, gaining support from the community, identifying the audience, preparing the timely content timely. It should not be that it is a practice which is to be done during cropping and near the farmer stages at harvest. So the process should be clear to each and every stakeholder. Set the date and time tracker should be there. Reminders should be sent to each stakeholder whenever necessary. Discuss the subject with the community, discuss the progress, share the videos with the community, highlight the key points, the key takeaways, so that the learnings are embedded. Okay, I'll go slow, sorry. Thanks for telling me that. And of course, encourage adoption. At the end of the day, when we are making these participatory videos, what we are seeking is adoption, that they bring this knowledge and learnings to practice. And of course, for them to bring it to practice, we'll have to clearly define, okay, if you have to do a soil testing, you would need to do a soil sampling. To do that, these are the steps that need to be followed. And so whatever farming practice it could be, the call to action should be very clear. It is only when you define the call to action that you can ask for feedbacks that did it work or whether it did not work. Next slide, please. What could be the platforms or sharing? I think someone asked that question, like what could be useful. So it depends upon the community also. You might see that maybe the social media platform that they are using more prevalently is Telegram. Then maybe you can share your content there. You could also see that they are very active on WhatsApp, then you could share there. And I don't know, like maybe in some countries it's TikTok, and how much of it is used by the community, I do not have much knowledge, especially with respect to farming. But however, in some communities you'll see a whole mix of usage of these social media apps. So be mindful of what is being used, so that on the right channel these content are put out. And for the open audience, there are like open social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. What works would be where you need to really be mindful for that community. Next slide, please. Of course, then using the platform for knowledge sharing is like Edmundo had also said, create a list. The data list should be very clear. Who would be the participants of this whole activity? What would be the objective of these participants? Who would be the group moderator? And here I'm maybe appointing someone who's tech savvy. So maybe within the community, there could be someone who's very active in making videos. So you could, appoint him or her to do so. And of course, then preparation of the checklist. If it is a farming package of practice, then what content should be there? How many videos should be made on that? Should there be a 10-minute long video, or maybe 3 videos, 2 minute each, which can be shared on Instagram more easily? So all these brainstorming, naming the name of the video, the image that should go, what could be the guidelines? All these brainstormings has to be done with the community, so that better mobilization of the target audience on the platform can be done, ensuring better adoption of the practices. Next slide, please. Within this community, you will find some will be very active. So encourage them. They will be passive, of course, motivate them, encourage the followers to like, share, comment more and more, so that the tracking of these videos is However, there could also be resistors, so we have to be mindful of them and encourage them to come on board. And this will be done when we can share some good practices amongst the community, and gradually that onboarding can also be done. Next slide, please. So in the offline video sharing and in-person groups, the participatory videos help users to systematically organize their sessions for different purposes on training. Maybe one session could be on one process, then after 15 days, the next cropping stage would come. So at that time, what would be there? Maybe some pest management videos. So as and when, whatever the requirement of the community would be, maybe that whole chained sequence of these sessions can be planned, and what would happen in these training sessions, who would be the subject matter expert, who would be the facilitator, what would happen in these workshops. And of course, there should be no distractions when we are doing these kind of workshops. And of course, we should be inclusive and encourage more and more participation from their community. Next slide, please. And of course, when we are doing these sessions, or the facilitator has to be very careful of the language. It should be very simple and encourage the participants to participate. The context setting should be very clear. Appreciation should always be there, and have confidence when you're presenting such things. Have clarity in mind, and when you're answering questions, be very accurate and precise. Next slide, please. And of course, when we are doing these body sessions, these sessions, our body language has to be very positive. Avoid crossed finger, hands, and facial expression should be very gentle, and putting the audience at ease, maintaining eye contact with the audience, and of course, being very mindful, or being very look out for questions, look out for more queries, because this would ensure that there is engagement amongst you and the participants. Of course, and some very basic body language rules of not pointing fingers, etc. Next slide, please. And how do we ensure engagement with the audience? Is that putting out the relevant content when it is appropriate, on time, and of course, assessment of the needs as to what really the audience need. That would ensure that the audience is forever engaged with you. Next slide, please. So this we have already covered in the previous slide. So this is once again a brief of what we have spoken so far. Next slide, please. And of course, follow up after the video session, close looping the entire thing by taking feedback. And it could be, how did you like the video? How did you like the in-person sharing methodology? Was there anything lacking? How many people participated? How many people watched the video? What information are they giving? Is it relevant for them? And whatever relevant feedback, etc., that can be gathered needs to be incorporated in the future. Participatory videos that are to be created. And of course, during this process, if some success stories have come up, then that should really be highlighted more and more, so that more and more experiential and peer-to-peer learning can be enhanced. Next slide, please. So with this, I come to the end. I am sorry I had to rush up a bit, but yeah, I can always answer questions which you can read into our practitioner's guide. And if there are any more questions that you feel you want to ask, you can ask either in the chat box or maybe in the WhatsApp groups.
Thank you.
So,
thank you very much, Nandita. It was extremely interesting, also because we realize that sharing a video should achieve a multiplier effect. We can do it on a personal base, in a selected group. We can do with a collective event. But what we want to achieve is really this multiplier effect and interactivity. And this is why the facilitator needs to have some particular skills in order to capture the feedback from the viewers. And just in terms of the feedback, which is extremely relevant, probably it's now the time to go to the next presentation, because gathering feedback is also part of this monitoring and evaluation system. So yeah. Again, the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Francesco. And now we come to one of the most important and critical aspects of the whole participatory video model or methodology. At the end of the day, what are we trying to do? We are trying to bring impact on the community. And what kind of community are we talking here? Maybe farming community. What kind of impact do we want to bring in their life? In that, maybe enhance their income, make farming easier for them, maybe teach them about new technologies, and the list can go on and on. Now the other aspect comes, we've done all this. Now how do we know whether we have what we have done, has it really impacted, was it useful for them? So we'll just very briefly go through it. So an overview, and of course what could be the evaluating channels and how to ensure quality and sharing methods. We'll look into that, and what could be quality assessment reports. Next slide please. So why is this important? Why data collection, monitoring, and evaluation is important? Why? Because first of all, let us look whether what we did it serve the purpose or not. For that, we need data that should be collected, and this data needs to be evaluated. What could be those criteria? Is it just that this many farmers should watch the video, or is it that this many farmers should watch the video and this many should adopt it and this many should give us feedback? So do we have this whole criteria and the tracker for the same? Then of course identifying the effectiveness. Okay, this many farmers watched, however who watched did not adopt. Why did they not adopt? So every time whenever there is a breakage of knowledge, we have to deep dive, find out why and what worked, and what did not work. And then of course this would give us the areas of improvement, and critically all the time aligning ourselves, making adjustments so that more and more effectiveness can be brought about, so that our outcome and evaluations can be enhanced more and more. So therefore regular follow-ups, addressing new issues and enhancing effectiveness should be the core of our evolutionary cycle in creating these participatory videos. Next slide please. Okay, so first of all, when we talk about planning, what video are we going to make? The whole plan should be there. If it is on a particular practice, then a complete tracker has to be there. So for example, as you can see, I have just put out a Excel sheet, which is typically how a tracker looks that we follow. Suppose if there is a video that needs to be made on poultry, then what is the theme of the POP, identifying the egg hatching. So what is the POP so the POP is there. Basis on the POP, then we kind of make the content or design the whole script, so on and so forth. So as you can see, video type should be informative and experimental. Script that we have written, does it need any approvals? When are we going to shoot? When is the final approval? And so depending upon what kind of a video you're making or topic you have chosen, this tracker would be more more deep or more as per your needs. You can create this tracker and have a follow-up with each and every stakeholder of the whole value chain. Next slide, please. Then strategy for planning, of course, is that selecting the right subject, and the right subject will once again come from the community. They would tell us what do they really want, what is the current problem. Then select the group of people with whom we want to shoot. Do we want to shoot with real farmers? Do we want to shoot with actors? Do we want to have an animated thing? Do we want to just video it by showing the content? Or is there a subject matter expert who would do a lecture? So then you have, according to the theme, these things have to be decided. Then determine the action that needs to be taken so that more and more interest can be captured from the group. And here, of course, involving the group would be a better idea, because where maybe they are making a particular organic farming product on their own. What is the process of making it? What could be the ingredients? How one farmer is helping the other farmer in creating this or ingredients. So these could be videos which could be very engaging because they would see one of them doing it. Therefore, adoption to practice would be more enhanced. Next slide, please. Of course, like I have said, all these strategies would depend upon on multiple aspects, like what could be the time when you could collaborate, what would be the contextual trigger. So maybe in that particular season, a particular pest infestation has happened, which has never ever happened within that area. So maybe an urgent video on that particular pest infestation has to be created. So what would be the trigger? It would depend upon what really the community wants, like I have said. Then of course engagement could be a trigger. So like, when we know that every season there is a problem that the farmers face, so maybe there could be delayed monsoons. So before we know that there would be delayed monsoons, so how can we have some products which can enhance crop resilience to fight a drought like a situation? Maybe have a video beforehand on that. Maybe when they are doing the soil preparation, how they can do it, have a video before they are doing it. So this would enhance more engagement, because you're solving their problems before they have anticipated. And of course, having a very close follow-up would always enhance your whole engagement, relatability, and call for action. Next slide, please. Of course, then evaluating the channel quality. So we have to be mindful, like, sometimes we think maybe farmers don't use Instagram, but maybe in some communities they are using it. So like here at Digital Green also, we are discovering new communities in different states, we are also learning. In some places, adoption of WhatsApp is much more as compared to Telegram, and vice versa. So depending upon on which channel your target audience is maxed, that channel you'll have to use to galvanize your content. Then of course, is that channel easy to access? So maybe that channel is very good, but maybe it's too slow on some phones, so you'll have to navigate some other way of doing that. Then of course, looking for opportunities of enhancing, like I have just said, and evaluating the success of adoption and sharing vis-a-vis on that platform. Is that platform easy enough for the participants to share or disseminate more of that video? Are there any challenges? Or maybe for amongst the frontline extension, it works fine, but maybe when it has to be shared with the farmer, that platform does not work anymore. Then maybe you will have to use dual platforms in that scenario. So it's more of a permutation combination depending upon the situation that the community would be in. Next slide, please. Of course, then evaluating the content impact would, how well did the content do? So asking questions again from the community: was it relatable? Which part of the content did they like the most? Was it delivered to them in a timely manner? Were they able to make use of those insights by taking some action? Are there any did they face any challenges in adoption? Maybe there was some cost involved, therefore the adoption did not happen, which could have been left out. So yeah, taking these very critical feedback would be very necessary to further make the content more engaging and relatable. Next slide, please. Like I have been saying again and again, this whole thing closes up only with a follow-up. So a closed loop of follow-up is very, very essential for us to understand that if we have lacked on something, we can, correct it. And whatever, situational changes, maybe somewhere some photograph is not appropriate, so maybe more detailed photos can be added. And whatever the nitty-gritties that come as a feedback, which can further value add in enhancing the content of the participatory videos, would only do good for the creator as well as the community. Next slide, please. And here again, like what could be the quality assessment reports? Basically, these reports are very essential, and this gives us a more data-based points to address or understand or take decisions in future, or whether or not these videos will work or not. So I would suggest maybe when we are having these assessment reports, capture as much data points as you can. And also it helps in why data-based data collection helps us, because it helps us to plan the next strategies. Maybe this time we hit 20 farmers, maybe this strategy is working, so what could be the plan to reach out to 100 farmers? Okay, so then how do we evaluate success? Is adoption a parameter? Is dissemination or reach a parameter? So what could be the parameter? That again would be the what we should consider. Then, of course, the data assessments also helps us in understanding what areas we really need to improve upon, and of course helps us to document and share feedbacks. And of course, further, what follow-ups could be needed. It gives us an inclination towards that. And this overall whole process helps us in the capacity building of the whole ecosystem. Next slide, please. Like in the previous slide presentation also, I had shown you some samples. Here again, there's a sample of what kind of review could be used. Maybe what was the visual engagement, what was the conceptual engagement, was the story structure right, was the framing right, was the compilation good enough, or how was the continuity, did the video break in some continuity somewhere? So these could be some guiding parameters. Along with that, some other, like, very basic, like break down the whole, like, was the storyboard good, was the story structure good, were the frames good enough to define the story? So all this checklist can be reassessed, and which would give us data points or data sets on where to improve on and where to, like, bring in more enhancement. Next slide, please. So with this, I come to the end, and once again, I've extended my time limit. For that, apologies. But some things, really need some deep diving. And I would suggest that for more knowledge, once again, I suggest you all to please look into the practitioner's guide, and you'll get a more detailed understanding of whatever I have covered so far. So thank you so much. And Francesco, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nandita. Always these, comprehensive explanations, extremely interesting. Thank you very much. So, colleagues, now we are going into the group work. You are used to it, so no need to explain the mechanism. It will be done automatically by Catherine, our technical support in this webinar, extremely relevant for all the work behind the scene. So we are going to work for 25 minutes. Then, as usual, we are going to have a rapporteur, a final session presenting the outcomes, and then we try to wrap up the session for today. So let's go into the groups. Good work to all of you, colleagues. Bye. Are we all here, or are we still waiting for some participants to join? So, I think that we are slightly delayed with our agenda. Therefore, without losing any other time, I would like to suggest the first group to start presenting the outcomes of the discussion. The first group is the FFF initiative with Danielle. Danielle, who will be your rapporteur?
Our rapporteur is Sariva.
Okay, very well, please. 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Good afternoon, everyone. So from our group, the various options and the modalities are individual, group, individual and group sharing. So we also thought of social media campaigns and online, offline, and online video sharing. We also thought of community workshops, identification of the target audience, and also complementary material. We also thought of time for sharing of our videos. And then the last one, to integrate participatory video into educational programs, schools, or training sessions to raise awareness and stimulate dialogue. So the second question, which is the planning and monitoring and evaluation of sharing participatory video, we thought of documenting behavior for a change or adoption as a way to verify content and for evaluation. We also thought of oral contributions or interviews. Then the next point, which is data collection. And we also thought of access to accessibility, including language, images, or other relatable content. Feedback collection as follow-up to video sharing. We also thought of field visits and also document challenges and lessons learned to contribute the next participatory video projects. We also thought of the quality assurance of our participatory video. Thank you.
Thank you very much for group one. I remember you that we are going to have a final question and answer session at the end of these presentations. So let's go. Let's move on. I leave the floor to the group two, the Digital Greens Initiative with Nandita and Riti. Nandita, Riti, who is your rapporteur?
Some issue, so we had joined the group that Uluma was facilitating. So maybe Uluma can recommend.
Okay, so let's do like this. Let's go to the group three, and then we come back to your group if you want. Okay. So
yeah, group two was not there, so maybe
okay.
yeah.
Group three. So group three is the group of Farmer Radio International, and our rapporteur is Pascal. Pascal, over to you.
Thank you so much, Francisco. In our group as Farm Radio International, we looked at what are the various options, modalities, and activities for PV sharing. One, we should be in position to be knowing our audience and the target for sharing. This will let us know the timing and place so that we can be able to equip ourselves with all the materials that we need. Two, we looked at both collective and personal sharing of these videos. And if it is collective sharing, we looked at social media like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, etc. And under personal sharing, we looked at WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, and these will also enable you to know how to package, how heavier these videos are so that you can compress them depending on which channel you're going to use. Then a checklist has to be created. This will enable you to know the necessary materials needed for sharing these videos so that before you go to the field, you know exactly what you need to have in your pack. And then offline video sharing, for instance, at a community gathering, you have to mobilize, and if they are online, you have to download them, align or assemble them ready for viewing. And finally, we looked also at content flow, follow-up and action plan after the event. Like what else do you need to to look at after people viewing. Are you planning to do evaluation? Are you planning to check if people are adopting, etc., etc.? Then part 2, we are look under how would you go about planning and monitoring and evaluation of video sharing, referring to our own experience as FRI. One, we looked at, it all starts from planning, having different communication channels, i.e. radio, video, and visual, where you have to have a uniform message that is supposed to go out. So you plan from the first instance, which channels are you going to use and how each will be supporting each other. Then you have to identify the audience. This will enable you know what language package are you going to use. And then you have to mobilize these communities using the various channels so that you can be able to have a successful viewing and monitoring as well as evaluation of your shared content. Then measure the level of adoption, looking at practice and techniques, if the audience is able to take it, to partake it, or some are saying, no, not yet ready. And then level of community mobilization in a sample area. These are some of the things that you need to have in planning and monitoring and evaluation. Then in-person discussion, maybe one of my group members will supplement on that. But finally, comparisons done between areas that have PV sharing opportunity and those without. If we can say controlled and uncontrolled communities, maybe to check for monitoring and evaluation of any innovation that you're promoting. Thank you.
Thank you, Pascal. Thank you very much. Now, I don't know if the group 4 was in place or not. Probably Oloma can confirm it to me. Otherwise, I would like to go directly to group 5, the mixed group. And the group 5 was moderated by you, Oloma. So please go ahead and share with us the results of your discussion through your rapporteur, of course. Yeah.
So our rapporteur is Kathleen. Kathleen, would you like to go ahead?
Okay, thank you, Uloma. I hope you can hear me well. So in our group, we came up with a person-to-person sharing, online sharing by Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as community sharing, also sharing during workshop and conferences, as well as we have an option to turn the video into an audio for radio or podcast. So how would you like to planning the M&A for video sharing? We have the calling farmers and asking them questions for feedback. You can also follow the social media evaluation, like the views and likes, the comments as well from social media. And also we can develop some kind of questionnaire feedback forms that can be shared with the community. And also we have the number of visitors coming to learn from a community who made the video. We can also monitor the video downloads from social media, as well as monitor the number of shares. Also, we can listen to the farmers comment during in-person meetings dissemination. Another option is to monitor the liquidation of input products at the warehouse used in the video. And also we have to confirm if there is an increased number of calls to the subject matter expert after dissemination of a video. And also we can visit the farmers later to check on adaptation. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kathleen. Very good work. So now I don't know if you if there are some. Oh, I see a hand raised. Please, Brenda. Now we are going to have a question and answer session before.
No, it was a hand clap, please.
And before the closure and the wrap up of this day, I remember you that many of these details can be found on the mini site that we have in place, and with the mini site you also have the practitioner's guide, the practitioner's manual. So I really invite you to use all the different tools that we have set up for this participatory video training. We have just 5 minutes left, so if there are more questions also, we can continue our conversation using the community of practice through the WhatsApp group. So if there are any questions, kindly raise your hand and we'll give you the floor, and then our experts will for sure give you more orientations. Any question? I don't see anyone. Please, oh, see Anita, please go ahead.
Thanks, Francesco. So there has been a lot of information shared today on a lot of different things. I would like to know from anybody, of any of the trainers, what are the 3 most important things that you want us to take away from today?
Very, very interesting question. Nandita, Riti, I leave it to you.
That's a very good question. So when you asked me this question, the first 3 things that cropped up my head was the first aspect, that these participatory videos are for the community by the community. So what are the 3 most important things that we have to really keep track of? That the content has to be engaging, it has to be relatable, and it should call for action. So if these 3 compelling things are there in your participatory videos, I believe you would have ticked all the boxes. Francisco, would you like to add on?
No, it's fine. That's what I said after the presentation of Edmund. I mean, the objective of participatory video is collective learning. And one of the things that we have tried to highlight since the beginning is how collective learning can be, community engagement and collective mobilization. Therefore, when we talk about sharing, we have to keep in mind these 2 principles, and then probably they can orient us better when it comes to, have a follow-up action on the knowledge sharing techniques that we would like to put in place. I don't know if there is any other questions coming from the participants.
So Anita, have we answered your question?
Sorry?
I was just wondering, Anita, is she satisfied with the answers?
I think so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think so. But I guess maybe then because we've been focusing on skills today, much more so than the content of the video. So can you answer that question from looking at it from the perspective of the skills? Like if we're thinking about the skills that you wanted us to learn today, what would be the 3 top things?
So the whole participatory video approach that we are taking, we are building capacities along making how to make these participatory videos. So what capacities do we want? We want some amount of filming, storytelling, or like storyboarding. These kind of capacities we would want to work on. We would want to work on the right scriptings. We would want to work upon the right taglines that attract more and more stakeholders or the communities to watch that video. So these are some very basic skills that we would be looking on in creating these videos. And then there would be skills where we look at maybe how do we monitor and evaluate that what you have done or created, has it really worked, has it really impacted the community? Francisco, would you like to add on?
Yes, sorry, I was muted. I believe that probably one interesting skill that was somehow presented by Riti was creativity. I think that creativity goes beyond technicalities. It is a way of communicating that we can have in a radio program, in a video shooting. It's really a way of communicating a message. And I think it's extremely relevant, and it's really not on the technical side, using effects or using, particular things.
Thank you. Thank you.
Eric, the floor is yours.
Okay. I just want to know, is it possible to have a short video from you people to show it to us as a sample? Is it possible?
Nandita, if you think it's right, can we share a digital green video, a
Yes,
participatory video?
yeah. I believe, Deeti, we had done that with the previous one session also. Maybe that very video we can share with you all, where we have shown a video of some organic farming, right, Preeti?
I don't recall it from the previous session.
Yeah, we'll
because
share it. We'll share it.
But I'll share. I'll just share like a link of a participatory video that was made by the community.
Yeah, sure.
Any other question coming from you, colleagues? No? Okay, so before wrapping back up, I would like to remember that we are going to have our usual final form and poll. It will be shared in a while by Catherine. So before leaving, I kindly ask you to fill this evaluation form for today in order to have your feedback. I also remind you that our next session will be in 2 days. It will be the last session, the 30th of November. And then, of course, we are going to continue with other activities that will take place mainly through the community of practice, but also with some assignments that we would like you to do in order to continue this journey together. So please don't hesitate to fill the feedback poll that was just shared with you right now. I believe that we are going to meet again in a couple of days. So I really thank you all for your participation. I really thank also all the colleagues from Digital Green and Los Baños in the Philippines, but also allow me to thank also all my colleagues from the ComDev team working very hard behind the scene in order to give you the maximum of skills, expertise, and tools in order to continue. I would be unfair to mention them one by one because I risk to forget some of them, but there is a big team working behind the scene, and I really thank all of them. Thank you very much, colleagues, and I see you in a couple of days. Thank you.
One last point I'll just add on, Francesco, that we have shared the links of these applications in short and all. Yeah, so as a reflection point, what we would want the participants to use these tools so that maybe in our next session, if there's anything that you come across which is peculiar, we can take it up.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Fill the feedback form, please.
Thank you. Goodbye.
See you in a couple of days. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you and bye.